Welcome to Book Club for Movies, everybody. It's May 31st. I'm Ryan Miller, Frog 1, as it were. Say hello to Frog 2. It's Matt Amberg.
We ribbit. We ribbit.
An actual line from the movie, this week's movie. On Book Club for Movies, where we watch a movie each week and we invite you to play along. Pretend, I don't even care. Just pretend like you've seen it. Ask us a question about any movie, and we'll pretend like it's about this movie. We'll turn it into a podcast. Win-win.
That's a great idea. I like it. Let's do that. We should call it Book Club for Movies.
Oh.
And for one episode of Book Club for Movies, I think we should do The French Connection.
Wow. This is kind of sudden, but maybe we could do it for this one because I already have an idea for next week's movie.
Well, fine. Let's do The French Connection. Everybody hold on for a minute. Let me go watch it. Okay, we're in.
Time travel.
Here we go. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. It's
The French Connection.
The patented Matt Amberg special. Let's do it.
Here we go. The French Connection, coming in at an hour and 44 minutes. Written by Ernest Tidyman, based on the novel by Robin Moore, based on a true story. Directed by William Friedkin, starring Gene Hackman and Roy Scheider. The synopsis is as follows. In 1971, NYPD narcotics officers Popeye Doyle and his partner Buddy Russo stumble upon a drug smuggling ring looking to flood the streets with heroin. But first, they'll need to figure out who's selling the drugs and who their French connection is. Based on a true story.
Man. So everybody knows French Connection. This is one of the classics, right? It won Best Picture of the year. It came out at
5 Academy Awards.
Right. I didn't see it in film school somehow, but everybody else did, I'm sure, or heard about it. I've never seen it myself. You have seen it yourself.
I have. 1971, this hard-boiled crime thriller.
And it turns out everybody knows what they're talking about. I kind of feel like I was witnessing the birth of the modern cop movie.
My gosh, right?
And I don't know how qualified that is even. I've seen a lot of cop movies. But this felt like something completely different and unique and new altogether, you know?
Yeah, I mean, 1971. I've said this before, and I don't think this is like a controversial opinion. I just my general opinion though is the 70s were really the true golden age of cinema because it was the time when studios were willing to take chances on just about anything. You could make a movie about just about anything and you could get put on screen. You know, it was available. Writers and directors were able to make the movies that they really wanted to make. And we started getting those movies that were a little more hardcore. You got a little more violence to them, but a little more tough story, harder stuff to tackle. And you had like real auteurs were coming up and guys like William Friedkin, man, you look at his film history and it's impressive. His films, he's got a lot of just knocked out of the park, and I mean The French Connection knocks it out of the park. Yeah,
and I came at this the total wrong way. How easily influenceable I am. Saw somebody somewhere, I don't remember where now, who said, The Hunted's not as bad of a movie as everybody thinks it was. And I have been aware of it for no particular reason because it had Benicio del Toro and Tommy Lee Jones in it, and it looks like it might be entertaining. So I was like, oh, hey, this guy says it's not as bad as everybody thinks it is. So that was the first one. Actually, that's not true. I did see The Exorcist in film school. That was the one Friedkin I did see. And don't remember enough about it to really have an opinion. I remember liking it, I guess, but
as you should.
Especially that class was more centered around movies that the Catholic Church really hated. So that one came up.
Weird.
And the Elvis one where he's a nun or he likes a nun or something.
Sure. That's not Blue Hawaii though. That's the other one. Maybe it is Blue Hawaii.
I don't know.
Anyways, I had a Blue Hawaiian for the first time. It was gross. Continue.
So I saw The Hunted recently and thought, man, I could see enough in The Hunted, and maybe I'll go back and forth with it. Maybe it'll be something we talk about during the rest of the show. To the point where I was like, okay, who made this? Why and what's going on? And then I found out it was Friedkin. I was like, whoa, okay. So and I've had the French Connection queued up forever. So we got to talking, and it was basically like, see this, or what was the other one we were going back and forth with, which I didn't know existed? Sorcerer. That's right. Yeah. Which I still want to watch, actually. That might be my next. I've
terrific movie.
And Rules of Engagement queued up as well for my Friedkin trip that I didn't get through, but
also a good one.
So maybe next week. But for the French Connection, it made The Hunted make a lot more sense, I guess. Let's put it that way. Is the French Connection, it's before The Exorcist, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The Exorcist was like 2-3 years later.
Okay.
This was start of the 70s. So The Exorcist was...
Right, okay. And you're totally spot on with the 70s stuff. The most I remember from that module is that obviously it's post Vietnam stuff, you know, right? All the hippies and the Watergate had been percolating long enough that in the 70s we started to get the movies that, you know, reflected that in the zeitgeist or whatever, however you want to put it.
Sure.
You know?
And I think that maybe that's what it is. It was that the zeitgeist was allowed to be reflected in a more colorful manner. You know, that was it. And people were allowed, you know, Scorsese can't do Mean Streets, you know, in 1953.
Perfect. Yeah.
You know, it doesn't happen. He can't do that even in the mid 60s, but 70s roll around. Scorsese does Mean Streets.
Dirty, raw. This movie is freaking raw. That's the thing I wrote down like 5 times. It's
love it.
Handheld for the most part. The opening sequence period is so great. Like
so good.
It opens up on them kind of doing this mini sting with some drug dealers, and Hackman is dressed as a Santa, which I guess this comes from real life too, not from the actual cops they're portraying in the true story. But from something a cop did used to do on the streets of, I think, even Brooklyn, where he noticed they were getting made so often that he was like, okay, what if I'm a Santa Claus? And I guess every time he saw a drug deal go down, he would start singing Jingle Bells, and then the other cops would pick him up. And they did this for years before anybody caught on, I guess. But anyways, the way it's portrayed in the film is that they do make a bust, and Gene Hackman just shown tearing off down the street in a Santa uniform, and it's
so good.
It's fantastic. It's so good.
It's great. I love it. Yeah. I one of the things that also the 70s brings, and this movie has it in spades, is the movie does a great job with its sound design and the music that plays. But I love the films that take and we kind of talked about this actually last week.
With Soderbergh, I think, a lot.
Yeah, it's that taking the dialogue and the sound out of the scene you're looking at, out of the section, and you've got something else going over it. And in this case, like the scene is they're in a club or whatever, and so you've got the singer singing.
Good scene.
But that's all you're
really
hearing.
Good scene. Yeah.
You see them sit down, you see a conversation happen, but you don't know. And I love that because it sets the scene perfectly of, okay, we know where they're at. We know there's a conversation. We can kind of guess what it is, but we don't have to know. You know, and I love that. I love movies that can pull that off. And this movie does it, you know, a bunch of times.
Yeah, it does it repeatedly. And it's a theme because it withholds information from the audience in that way. Like the setup here is Gene Hackman is a cop with Roy Scheider. And in fact, the other thing we should probably get out in front of with Gene Hackman's character especially is that he's like the movie's front loaded with some pretty racist statements from that dude, from Gene Hackman's
right off the
character.
bat,
yeah, right off the bat. And I was scared at first because I was like, man, is this just a movie that hasn't aged, or are they actually going to address this? And I think they do actually address it. Like my fears were not justified, I guess, but vindicated. So we'll get there. But the way that scene goes is that's kind of the important thing. We just see that Hackman's kind of, you know, he's appears to be trying to do the right thing, but they don't let us in on the details of that thing. He sees a guy, he sees a table, and he's like, hey, that table's wrong. That table's wrong somehow. And his partner is like, you know, okay, I'll follow you again on this type of thing.
Right. And that's one of those things to note. Scheider's character in this movie, Buddy, he is always right there for his partner. He is at no point are you ever questioning whether or not he's going to be a bad guy. No, he's not. But he's also the partner that is like, are you kidding me with this?
Right.
Come on. Like, I just want to go. I just got stabbed. I just want to go take a nap.
Which ends up being essential. Like, it's a perfect supporting role, and Scheider nails it because I think the movie becomes about Hackman in a larger way as time goes on. But again, we're not fed the details about this case he's trying to make, and a large part of it is the audio. In that section where he says the table's wrong, we don't get a lot about him. It turns largely into a kind of cat and mouse movie where he is following these guys, but we don't get the audio from their end. We get them talking. We don't hear what they're talking about. Up until the middle of the movie, we don't know if Gene Hackman is just completely off base on this stuff. Like, he keeps yelling at everybody to trust his instincts. He knows in his guts, but we haven't seen anything that says he's actually following criminals, And
on top of that, all we have heard from the captain is, and everybody else, what happened last time you trusted your gut? A cop got killed.
Cop died. Yeah.
So everybody around him is super wary, and one of the themes I think that comes pretty heavily in this movie is obsession. It's like he is driven by he's obsessed. He's obsessed with being right. He's obsessed with, I gotta find this out, to the point where he does make Roy Scheider, like, right after he gets cut, after like the first scene with the Santa Claus and all that stuff, the guy they're chasing cuts Roy Scheider, blah blah blah,
because he had a knife.
And right after that, he's like, I just want to go home. And Doyle says, no, we got to go do this, even if it takes all night.
Well, he just says, let's go get a drink. Remember, he's like,
let's go
come
get
on,
a drink. That's right.
Drink.
Let's go get a drink. And then it turns into, he says, let's get a drink, because he knows if he can get him out, then he can get him to follow him. And then it turns into
they end up at that spot where he starts pointing out the table, and Roy Scheider's like, I thought we were just getting a drink, and they weren't. Right. Yeah. Obsession. Definitely in there. I don't think that's driven home. And let's go to the halfway point in the movie already then.
Let's jump.
Pretty much the moment I wrote that note that, like, we don't know if we're following criminals here, it cuts to a scene in the hotel room where they're cutting heroin. So I'm like, okay, they're criminals. And the rest of the movie basically ends up, how much leeway are you willing to give Gene Hackman? Like, because at that point, maybe I'm talking a little bit for myself here. I'm like, okay, we're following bad guys. Gene Hackman's the good guy. We're okay. Let's go with this for a little bit, and that's essentially what it ends up being. If it is still that cat and mouse thing, and it's still, I mean, the movie's beautiful. Like, it's the camera work, everything from the camera work to the movement, all just the little small touches. It's filmed. Even the intimate moments are filmed from way far away. Mm-hmm. Like, it's all just beautiful. Look at the cinematography. Like, that city, as I don't know if it's ever looked better, honestly.
I actually have this written multiple times, that this movie makes that city feel alive in a totally different way.
It's amazing.
Like there are movies, and Scorsese is a guy who's done it, and I think Mean Streets was the one that did it. Taxi Driver, as much as I love that movie, it didn't do the same thing.
It didn't.
But these two movies, like New York, it takes you, even watching that takes you back. Like, you can just imagine what the rest of that city is. Like, I know what that city feels like. There's and it's this weird thing that you just get this sense of, and it felt alive, and the way he films it, and the way everybody interacts. It's like
there's still a brightness about it. Like, he's not afraid to, and good poll, Mean Streets, Taxi Driver, and the city looks great, but it's, and this might be my memory, but it seems mostly dark. Like, it seems mostly gritty. Like, there's still some,
for sure.
In French Connection, there's still some beautiful sunsets. Like, there's just so much that they do with light more than, I mean, the cities look alive in both movies, but here it looks alive and bright, and I guess maybe more lively, if that makes a difference.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
I don't know, but it does look gorgeous.
I don't know. I love the look of this movie. I guess I see what you're saying with the second half of the movie, where you're kind of drumming along with Popeye, and it does become more of a cat and mouse, and you, like, there is certainly a point where it becomes I won't say it's an action movie, but it ramps up a little bit. Well, and it does that. It's not a huge ramp either. It's
the car chase, maybe.
The car chase is great. I actually, I do love the, we'll get to it. There's a foot chase scene that I think is one of the best. It's shot beautifully, and it's towards the end. There's this cat and mouse bit with with
is that just the extension of the same chase, like the foot part of the? So
yes. It's the part where they're chasing Charnier. Well, no, it's before the car chase. Are you talking about the part where they're barricaded at the
move along in the movie, and let's do that.
Maybe this will help.
the cops are tailing an Italian business owner, and there's a French connection. Yeah, French Frog 1 against, I can't remember, Frog 1 or Frog 2, the main guy.
Frog 1 was the main guy.
Okay.
Charnier. He's
Alain or whatever.
Alain Charnier.
And the cops are tailing them just everywhere. And somehow that remains compelling. Like I said, even though you don't get the actual audio from even after we know that they're bad guys, you don't necessarily get a lot of them talking. There is a moment or a period where you wonder if they know that the cops are following them, but you find out pretty quick that they do know. In fact, it might be in that scene in the hotel room. Yeah, I think is where they say, I haven't had 2 minutes away from the cops since I've been here.
Yeah, and he says, he also mentions that Sal has been, that they've wired his house and his business and all that stuff.
Which they have. And so they know. We still get extended sequences of them following them, and it's tense and cool the way they do it. There's people coming in and out of the chase so that they can continue to follow without seeming to be detected, but they are. And then finally, maybe the foot chase you're thinking of is where Hackman finally ends up losing Elaine, and he waves at him in the window as he goes. That one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that whole thing and that follows, all the way through. It's a sequence where Hackman has been tailing Elaine to the subway, and Elaine clearly knows, and they're both playing this weird game of getting on the subway train, getting off the train, getting on the train, getting off the train. And it's one of those things. Into
stores, out of stores.
Yeah, and it's so you kind of like, when you try to explain that to somebody, it just sounds real dumb.
It does. But it shouldn't be as compelling as it is.
But holy crap, like the way that's played off, you kind of wonder, okay, does he really know? He's got to know. Oh, he doesn't know. Oh, he does know.
And then when you're sure he knows, it's still interesting.
And it's great because it is one of those movie moments that I who doesn't love the movie moment where in some way they say something and it comes back to bite him in the butt. And in this case, he has this nice kind little wave out of the subway window to Gene Hackman, who gets super, super pissed about it. But during the foot chase where they're actually running against the L train, they're outside and he's chasing. It's not Elaine that he's chasing. It's the second
sniper?
frog. Yeah, it's the sniper.
Okay.
That chase sequence when we get
So in the story, eventually it comes to be that the French connection is bringing in the heroin and they're smuggling it in through a car, which we find out later.
That's being brought in and has been brought to the United States by a French actor who has no idea what's actually going on.
He knows he's part of something. Like in fact, you see him early on in the film that they're kind of setting this up, but
because the French, the actor's doing it strictly because he needs money,
right?
But he doesn't know what he's doing.
So at one point the Frenchmen get together and they're like, we know we're being followed. It's getting to the point where we have to make this deal. It's getting heated. And the second guy says, let me take care of Gene Hackman, basically. And the first guy says, that's going to cause a lot of problems. And the other guy says, we'll be gone. So basically it gives the green light to go and shoot Gene Hackman, which comes at the point where he's been chewed out by his sergeant and basically put off the case, like, this is going nowhere. The bus that you had failed, and they know you're there. They know they're tapped. Like, it's over. You're out. And then he gets sniped, and then it's all kind of back on without a big scene saying that it's back on. Kind of thankfully, I think that's pretty smart.
Yeah.
But then
he gets sniped
chase,
at. He doesn't get shot.
No. Yes, he gets sniped at, and then there's a foot chase that ensues.
Do you happen to recognize that scene from anywhere? Do you remember that scene from anywhere? Because it is
all of this movie I recognize from elsewhere is the thing.
The sniper scene in particular. So the way the sequence plays out is you don't know there's a sniper there. It's Hackman's walking through a park, and as he's walking, a woman pushing a pram, a baby stroller, gets shot while he's like right behind her, and he catches her and then he hides. And it's one of these scenes that's really, really funny to me because every time I see it, I'm reminded of Big. And when he moves to New York, when Tom Hanks and Big moves to New York City, and he lives in that really crappy apartment, he's sitting there watching The French Connection. That scene happens. He turns off the TV, and then he hears like the exact same sound outside his window, and he goes, "Oh."
Wow. No, I totally forgot. It's been so long since I've seen Big. In fact, thank you for that.
Your kids need to see Big.
We've got
it's about
one
time
now.
For them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the chase sequence turns into, Popeye finds the sniper, starts searching for him. They start chasing each other down through middle of the day, New York City, which again, another fantastic shot here or sequence because it is so bright. It's out in the open. And there is this sequence where they pulled the camera way out and you can see the L train, that like the L is above them and they're running underneath it. And it is such an incredible shot seeing the French guy running and Popeye following him, and you've got the train above them, and it's just this amazing kinetic shot. It's so
kinetic.
Cool.
There you go. Yeah. And this is the beginning of maybe the most kinetic the movie gets, because that foot chase leads into the car chase, which is maybe the other thing you always hear about when you hear about this movie.
Yep.
And the story behind it is just as incredible. I guess for the most part, it was scripted or blocked off, but a large part of it, number one, was not scripted. Like that, there were actual accidents that got added back into it, and the accidents happened because, number two, they went outside of the roped off area, so they were actually avoiding actual cars and pedestrians.
Yeah.
and
great, super smart.
Hit a few cars, anyways. And then the whole thing was edited, I love this part, to Santana's cover of Fleetwood Mac's song "Black Magic Woman," even though that appears nowhere in the film.
Nowhere in the film. They couldn't get the licenses. And actually, I was okay.
Wait.
So
could they actually not get the license, or is that?
Oh, I have no idea. It just seems.
No, they didn't mention that. No, I feel like it was just, it gave the scene a rhythm. They mentioned that numerous times when they talk about it, even if that rhythm wasn't expressed. And actually, it's indicative of the whole movie. Like they know where not to score the film, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, to just use either ambience or to use a sound effect,
especially
or nothing.
Action scenes. Like name the last action scene you saw in a movie in the theater that didn't have just some sort of music behind it, which is great. It adds tons. Music is very important and additive. But man, here when it's just, and I'll say it again, raw. Like it's the word that just kept coming back.
It just feels more powerful, it really does. It just feels like there's more of an oomph to it. And I'm thinking about this, and it's the car sequence that has the L train thing, where the cars are going through, and that's how it was shot. It wasn't the guy running,
where he's driving parallel with it, and they're both going. Yeah, that's
it's that sequence that it's just really kinetic there. The guy running, it's the shot that I was thinking of with the guy is him running up the stairs. I just love how that looks. Like the
looks
way,
fantastic, yeah.
It's so funny. This is another reason I love like the 60s and 70s, where they would just put the end of the movie right on the poster.
Yeah.
and if you've seen the poster, you've seen the guy getting shot, and that's towards the end of the movie. He's not the main Frenchman, he's the sniper.
That's Frog 2, yes.
Yeah, but that shot, not him getting shot, is so cool. It's such a great shot. The way Hackman is slightly off to the right, the guy turns into the Christ pose above him, and it's so good.
And it's actually a smart moment because he gets shot in the back, and helps us get back maybe into Gene Hackman's character here, where he's doing the right thing, and we're kind of fully on board with him at this point, or at least I was.
Yeah,
and you're rooting for him. The movie is starting to wrap up. We're getting close to the end. We're definitely in the third act, I think, here.
Yep, no, for sure. Because the movie ends about 5-10 minutes later. It's about 10 minutes later.
Do they have the car at this point? I forget. I don't think they do.
Yes.
Do they?
I think they get the car right after that.
Okay. So they do another sting. They end up getting the car that came in with the drugs. They tear it apart, don't find it, but then do find it, all the drugs. So they give the, which is this is actually one of the light bulbs that went off in my head, was they take that car completely apart. There's an extended scene, and like every single thing they take apart, they're undoing like welds, to finally actually find the stuff. And the actor who's looking for his car, because it was taken, is like, where's my car? And all of a sudden Roy Scheider shows up and he's like, oh, here it is, we got it. They got the car back together in perfect condition. And
he's like, it's a perfect, not even a scratch on it.
Yeah, so that was maybe a little bit, and I did notice by the end they mess with time a little bit. Like this takes place over months, whereas you could have told me it took place over a couple days.
A week. Yeah.
So there's maybe a little bit of that. Maybe the Frenchman was at the police office asking for his car for 3 days. I don't know, right?
Right. Yeah. And it is. I mean, in terms of the rest of the movie, that is probably the one part that kind of really strains credulity.
Yeah. You're like small. I'll give it to him, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. You can headcanon that. Oh, he came late well after they did it.
Or we weren't being shown the true timeline or something like that. We were, the Frenchman takes place days later. And anyways, it's cut together because they're smart. But basically, it comes down to the end game. They know they have to make the deal. They make the deal. I'm sorry. Are you ready for me to go to the end of the movie here?
Go.
Okay.
Drive
they make the deal. They're happy about it. The Sal also has a brother that's been in on it. And they hug, the French dude gets in the car with the other, no, not the other guy, because the other guy's dead. He's in the car with who's he in the car with?
He was in the car with, was it Weinstock?
Maybe. One of the conspirators. And they drive off.
I think he's in the car with Weinstock because the other Frenchman is dead. The actor is no longer involved.
Right.
Weinstock was the guy that was ultimately kind of, he was the one that Sal was using as Sal was being the middleman for Weinstock.
Gotcha. Right. Okay. So they hop in the car, they drive off supposedly into the sunset, except the sunset is a line of 20 cop cars at the end of the bridge, and they freak out, turn around, and
wait.
Okay.
You can't gloss over the fact that the cars are lined up there, and there's Popeye Doyle doing the exact same wave that the guy gave him, and it's perfect. It's
the shot you see very often.
The face that Hackman has is so good.
And unfortunately or fortunately, Hackman super nails this character. Like, he's amazing. If we haven't mentioned that yet,
he and Scheider, this movie shines 100% because those two knock it out of the park.
Because I can't think of a better performance from Hackman, honestly. I can think of movies I've also loved him in, but
performance-wise, it's probably this. I might be able to say the Wes Anderson
Superman.
flick, Royal Tenenbaums, because he is really tremendous in the Royal Tenenbaums.
He is. And it's almost the same strength because he's playing that smirky character again.
Right, yeah. It's a question. It's like the De Niro question. Was he, you've got Mean Streets, Raging Bull, Taxi Driver. And Hackman's got like that kind of resume too. Right. You can go back and find these movies that are similar and go, I don't know. Yes. The answer is yes.
Fair enough. So that scene does happen. Thank you. They turn around. He goes back to where the deal was made and says the cops are coming, and it turns into a standoff when the cops pull up. So Scheider goes off and gets somebody first, right?
He starts chasing. He
goes shoots Sal,
direction.
I think, right?
Yep.
But Hackman takes off after Frog 1. And Elaine and Bennis from Seinfeld. No, sorry. And very slowly kind of tracks him through this warehouse until Scheider does show back up. And at this point, we forgot to mention that the antagonistic officer that pointed out last time, it points out numerous times that last time Popeye Doyle got into stuff like this, a cop died. is also in the mix somewhere. So there,
he's a DEA agent.
Yeah.
That has. I think so. I think that's what they say, or maybe he's FBI. But he's a 3-letter agency guy that is brought down to because it's a heroin thing. That's why they had him there, because it's drug related.
I guess I got the feeling that they were in the same department, because they at one point they went on one of the stakeouts together, or he went with them at some point, and he was a total backseat driver. And
I think they knew each other ahead of time. But in any case, the guy was a different. I think he was a different agency.
Okay.
But they had known each other.
Well, he's also casing the warehouse at this point, and as soon as he pops out through a door, in kind of Scheider's line of fire, Hackman flips out and yells Buddy's name, or he has a nickname. It's not Buddy. It's
I think he just yells freeze, and then he shoots him right away.
Oh, I thought he yelled his partner's name because he thought he was.
I don't think so, because the guy's in the shadows. That would
actually be better. Sure, no, that actually makes more sense.
Because he pops up, he opens a door and there's no way to see him, and Hackman immediately thinks it's Elaine because there's no knowledge that this guy is there. He's not told them.
Sure.
He didn't say anything.
No.
So they assume it's just the guy they're looking for. So every bullet in his gun shoots him. They go over to check it out, and that's when Buddy looks at me and goes, "You killed so and so." And
that cop who was giving him crap for a cop dying last time,
right? And so he empties his gun and says, I still got more to do. I got to catch him. That's what he says. I've got to go find him.
Yeah, he's still in here somewhere. Not a tinge of emotion from Gene Hackman, from that character,
right?
For having killed that policeman. And
he walks away and said, "Yeah, he's still in here. I got to find him."
He immediately starts reloading while Scheider looks up at him and says, "You killed him.
You killed him." And Scheider plays that perfectly at that whole what did you just do? You stop. Stop.
You're not really the guy. I give you all the credit because you're trying to do the right thing. You're not really the guy who's this cold-blooded or this obsessed or this, misguided, right? That's Scheider's look in all of that 1 second. You killed him. And he is, though. It all comes back around. The movie that I wasn't positive was about this the whole time. Hackman's character doesn't care what's right or wrong. He cares about that dude. He doesn't care that guy got shot. He cares about for whatever obsessed reason, getting that French guy. Not because he's a criminal, just because, this is the thing now. This is what he does, not because he's a policeman or because he's concerned about the right thing. But
and I guess I kind of put it as I think that part of the obsession is that he is obsessed with the job. He is the job. That is his life. There's no Popeye outside of being a cop, and you even get that even when you the one section where he is with a woman and Roy Scheider shows up and he's handcuffed. Even in the bedroom, he can't leave the job.
Okay.
It's stupid. Sure. It's stupid, but it's there, right? And that ending sequence, so he shoots the guy, he unloads his gun, or he empties the chamber of the empty shells, puts bullets back in the gun, says, he's still here. He walks out of frame, we see him walk through a doorway, and when he gets out of the doorway, we hear one gunfire, one shot, one bullet. That's it. And that's it. Black. And then it goes straight to the explanation of how all of the people that went to jail, how
still
long they went to
frames
jail,
with the little sentences that are this is what happened to this person.
And it comes down to the person he was chasing was never caught and is assumed to be living in France.
Elaine. Yep.
And both Popeye and Buddy were moved out of the narcotics division.
Yeah. So that last shot wasn't him killing the Frenchman. Wasn't him committing suicide. It wasn't Scheider committing suicide, or maybe Scheider finishing off the cop because he was in pain. I don't know. It was none of those things.
It's nothing. It's maybe he was shooting at what he thought was Elaine. Maybe he was just pissed, so he fired one bullet off. Who knows?
That's true. He does do that numerous times. Like when they walk up on the car bust and they actually end up getting the car because they just got it because some guys were trying to take the tires. The first thing he does when he gets out of that car is shoot his gun into the air and tell everybody to, get down or what. I can't remember what he says, but yeah.
I think, when it comes down to this, I think you also have the very clear pointed note that the cop that he does kill at the end, what is this? Every time Doyle has an instinct, somebody's going to get killed. Like it feeds back into everything the guy was saying to him. The last time we trusted your gut, you got a cop killed. You got a cop killed. They all trusted his gut this second time because all the cops were there. You got a cop killed, Doyle. Good work. 2 in a row.
Well, it's just that he doesn't care though. Like that's
no. But it reinforces the one cop's constant. Why are we doing this? Not just because he's probably wrong and maybe he's right, but somebody is in danger that shouldn't be.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is it just I don't think we're actually arguing here.
No, we are.
It creates one of those once in a lifetime characters in Popeye Doyle that not only isn't who you think, because you spend the whole movie basically trying to figure out or giving him a pass because he's doing the right thing. Like his character, and purposefully the movie was front loaded with these racist statements, even though the whole movie is Popeye Doyle being this bigot. And you spend the whole movie wondering if his actions, I guess, mitigate that character. And they don't, because in the end, that's not, like he has Scheider. Typically characters like this have the one that grounds them, right? And Scheider is that for him.
Right.
But this is one case where we find out Scheider isn't enough and never has been, like he's just going to keep doing this basically.
Yeah. I mean, and to a point, I'm loath to bring it up, but it does pan out and there's a sequel.
Yeah.
And
I'm guessing that's a total garbage thing or what?
I saw that. Okay. It's not total garbage. It is, what it comes down to is that the movie is good by itself, but
it's not a French Connection movie.
Everything that made Popeye in this movie kind of gets erased a little bit in that movie. Like he's no longer, like the obsession thing is still there because he is chasing Elaine. That's the whole plot of the movie, is him going to Paris.
Great.
So there is a French Connection because it's him going to Paris and chasing Elaine. But and that right there, not great. But it's a good movie in that, like, for that crime genre. Oh, it's a cool crime movie.
Okay.
It's one of those.
It's not a Friedkin though, right? Like it's
no. It was made by Frankenheimer, I think.
Okay. No, Frankenheimer's Monster. Actually, is the proper way.
That's what we call it. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really hard to continue a story like that because it really is like that character.
It's not meant to be continued. Like that's dumb.
You don't need more. You don't need before. You don't need after. This is like that perfect encapsulation of this is who Popeye Doyle is, and it's the best example you're going to get of him at his best and his worst. So why try anymore?
Yeah, that's not. You end the French Connection with that gunshot. You don't make another movie after it. Like that's like another movie about what was the gunshot about. Like don't. Okay, so apparently William Friedkin was questioned about that gunshot at one point, as you might imagine, and his statement has been, quote, "Doesn't mean anything, although it might."
I love it. I love
Unquote,
that. It's that cagey answer that for the longest time, like I love that Tarantino gave for the briefcase.
Right.
It was it's nothing.
To mess with the people who don't know, and
right. It's his soul. It's diamonds. It's whatever you want it to be. It doesn't matter. It's that gunshot is. It's whatever you want it to be.
And this isn't necessarily the same thing because that briefcase is a total MacGuffin. Like this isn't necessarily MacGuffin. This is
totally. I just mean it
But
in
yes.
response to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's that same type of, it doesn't have to meet, but it could, you know.
Anyways, Deckard's a replicant, so
There we go. Deckard's a replicant, Popeye's a slob, and we've spent way too much time in Poughkeepsie. So let me ask you this. How'd you feel about the movie?
It's 90 stars.
Out of 90.
Exactly.
It's a great movie. Get out there, check it out. If you did watch it, let us know. If you haven't watched it yet, really go check it out. And then let us know what you thought about it. Podcast at bookclubformovies.com. You can find us on Twitter, Book Club for Movies. You can find us on the internet with Book Club for Movies. You can come watch a Book Club for Movies with us because we've got a whole new Book Club for Movies selection. Next week's Book Club for Movies selection is going to be a surprise to me because you've got it and you haven't told me what it is.
Really? I thought we talked about this in passing.
Did we?
I was hoping we could do Pacific Rim Uprising.
Pacific Rim Uprising. That's what we're doing. Get your rim jobs. Nope. Get your Jaeger turned on and get ready to punch some monstrosities. Next week, Book Club for Movies, Pacific Rim, the sequel, Uprising. Let's check that out.
If you haven't seen the sequel, which we haven't, and I think that's going to be part of the conversation because I beyond loved the first one, and I love talking about why the first one isn't what kind of most people think it is.
I'm a huge fan of it.
So if you've seen the first one, bring that discussion, like talk to us about it, because I think it's going to come up with this second one, because I'm not sure what to expect, and I'm not sure why myself didn't go see this, the first day in the theater. So
I can honestly say this was one that a huge part of the reason I've been reticent about it is because it's not Del Toro's movie. And
is he not directing? I know he's involved.
He didn't direct it. He didn't direct
Okay.
it, and he didn't. I don't think he wrote it either. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm just I've been reticent. When the less Del Toro there is, the less excitement I have. I really like that first movie. We'll see where it goes.
So Pacific Rim next week. Check it out. Pacific Rim 2 or the first one, like I said, whatever. For now, let's do the rest of the show.
That's it. That's what I usually say.
Okay. And I think I've already started a little bit on mine. I did watch The Hunted. And I think maybe the easiest way to do this is just to go through my notes.
Notate for me.
Have you seen The Hunted?
I've not seen The Hunted, actually.
Okay. All right. So again, this came about because somebody somewhere said, hey, it's not as bad as it looks. And I said, oh, I'm a sucker. So I got it and I watched it. And it might, again, direct from notes here, it may transcend total garbage B movie, but I still don't think it completely lands the whole trained killer gone crazy motif or whatever you want to call it. It's Benicio del Toro, and he was trained by Tommy Lee Jones to be a really good killer, and he is, and he excels at that. But it appears once he returns from war, you can't take the crazy man out of the war, but you can't take the war out of the crazy man.
Hey,
so, that's how it
thank
goes.
you, Rambo.
So we get a long, protracted hunt where Tommy Lee Jones is approached about capturing Benicio del Toro because he appears to have gone off the reservation. And there is kind of a middle space in the movie. There's at least a first half of the movie where you're not sure if Benicio del Toro is crazy, if he's guilty of the crimes he's been accused of, if he's part of a government conspiracy. But the movie is wholly unconcerned with really delving into that. It has much more of a faux, like it begins with a scripture, it begins with Johnny Cash singing about a scripture. It's the one where he's like, God said to Abraham, kill me a son. And there might even some text come up on screen. I don't know. So they pretend to have some of that going on, but it just doesn't. It is a complete middle of the road movie. Like, this is as good as you think it might be. It's if you tell somebody they're going to see a movie with Benicio del Toro and Tommy Lee Jones, they probably don't expect this to be the type of movie that it is. It does kind of have undertones. It tries a little harder than stuff like that. It's not a straight action movie. But, and again, back to the notes, it doesn't lean into Benicio being legit crazy soon enough, says I. And while
always go with crazy Benicio immediately, because that's the best kind of Benicio.
And upon writing that, I thought, well, okay, maybe that's a feat all on its own, like making Benicio del Toro not look crazy for half a movie, or maybe doubt that he's not crazy for half a movie, because He doesn't do that. I mean, Sicario maybe, but even then, that's like underneath he's a psycho.
I mean, that's what his face always portrays.
But it just so happens that it occupies this middle space that it also then fails at. So the third act kind of turns on a dime, and it's just cops are getting killed and everywhere. We know Benicio's definitely the guy doing it, and he's gone crazy, and there's a car crash, but he gets out of it, and we're in downtown Portland, I think, for the most part, which is strangely appropriate for how woodsy this movie gets.
It's a woodsy place. I mean, downtown Portland's like, not necessarily woodsy, but
like you got the milieu or whatever you're doing. Good job. But half the time when they're doing the actual hunting, it's footprints. Like the one of them's tracking the other, and they look down and there's footprints, and he touches the footprints and he looks up, and I'm like, footprints? Like, how is that not the first thing that the other tracker is like? Oh, I gotta hide my footprints or not leave any. But then Tommy Lee Jones catches Benicio del Toro kind of, but then he gets away in a car and he flips him off on the way out. And I'm like, okay, now I feel like if you really want me to take this movie seriously, you can't be, or either that or he's really psycho, like he's so crazy that he's like, middle finger, buddy, beat ya later.
I'm 9, I hate you.
But then we get out to a full-on, like, chasing each other in the woods thing, wherein Benicio del Toro smelts a machete.
Sure.
And Tommy Lee Jones makes an arrow out of a rock. And I don't know, like, I just don't know. I don't know what the movie's trying to say at this point, because it's not particularly compelling action. Like, are we making a statement against guns at this point where it's like, is it just like, hey, we can make a Hollywood action movie without guns or good-looking actors or action? I don't know. And then they start making Ewok traps, and I'm like, oh, cool. And then they find footprints again, and I'm like, stop finding footprints.
Yeah. No, that's
and then my notes say Benicio del Toro uses CGI to make Tommy Lee Jones look stupid, but I don't even remember why I wrote that. So I had to go watch The French Connection, basically, is what it came down to.
Yeah, you got a palate cleanser.
Oh, man.
Hey, Benicio is such a weird actor. He's so terrifying looking in all respects that, like, his version of Bedroom Eyes, I have to imagine kind of like, they're like, hey, like, you give Bedroom Eyes and your partner's like, oh, all right. When Benicio gives you Bedroom Eyes, you're like, are you going to eat me right now? Like, are you going to carve me into a turkey? Which is pretty great because it does lead right into the movie that I watched. But, are you?
Yeah, no, that's enough. Go ahead.
Okay.
It's probably better than I'm giving it credit for, but it just seems to fail or middle on single thing it tries to do. It's
sure
whatever internet man said it's better than I thought it was wrong, and he can make a new list about something else now. So what movie did you watch?
I decided to watch a movie that's been sitting in my queue for a long while.
Cool.
It was called, and it still is, it has not changed its name. It's called No One Lives. It comes in at an hour and 26 minutes. It's directed by Ryuhei Kitamura, who also directed a fan favorite, Midnight Meat Train. It was written by David Cohen. It stars Luke Evans, Adelaide Clemens, and Lee Turgison. Ah, man, I like this movie. This is a good movie. It has a great plot. It's a total violent horror movie that builds upon itself. And at an hour and 26 minutes, it just goes. It's point one, go. Just start fighting. Everybody dies. No one lives. So the general plot here is pretty cool. It starts off with a man and a woman. Luke Evans and Adelaide Clemens are in a car together, and she's visibly uncomfortable. She is not like she's there, but she is clearly just not interested in talking to Luke Evans. And Luke Evans is kind of a little weird. We see a group of people getting ready to they're going to rob a house, and the robbery goes wrong, so they don't end up getting anything from it. They end up in the same bar that Luke Evans and Adelaide Clemens are in because they are traveling through. They've got a big, like a U-Haul attached to their car, and so they're just passing through at a bar. And one of the guys, the guy who actually caused the robbery to go badly, decides to pick a fight or start stuff. And eventually the kind of the leader, the father figure of the robbers, he kind of grabs him and says, knock it off. He apologizes. They walk away. The guy says, I'm telling you, we should go rob them because they got a whole U-Haul full of crap. So let's go take that and steal it. So they do that. They do that. That wasn't a good idea because while they're bad guys and they're not great people, Luke Evans is a real bad guy. Find out Luke Evans serial killer.
Oh,
the girl survived. The reason she lives is actually really interesting, and why he's got her, why she's with him. It is a very interesting twist on the motif of the killer kidnapping the woman not being not being allowed to do anything, not being able to do anything. Really kind of unique twist on it. Like
Stockholm syndrome type thing, or
no? It's not a Stockholm thing so much as it's complicated to kind of go through the whole thing, but the general situation is that he butchers all the a ton of people that she knew, and she was the only one that wasn't like she didn't lose her mind about it, and so he took her, tells her that she's locked in a room, and then he says, if I die, you die. And then he cuts his throat and he says, so if you want to, how much do you want to live? And he cuts his own throat. So she brings him, she stops the bleeding and brings him back. And he says, this is proof that you care, that you want to live, and that we have a connection, because you could have just let me die. And she's like, but you locked me in here. And then he walks up to the door, just pushes it open. He goes, I never said it was locked. So there's a thing to it, and it does go through, and there's some pretty good gore to it. There's some nice bloody scenes, and it was just a really cool movie. It was a great flick. It has a great stinger of an ending. Like, the ending is the one that you kind of expect, but you don't, and it settles on it. It doesn't. It makes the ending, and it doesn't back off on it. It doesn't add something to the end to change it. It's just, that's the ending. It's great.
It's a single gunshot that goes through all the characters.
That's it. That's how it goes. Yep. And then he looks at the camera and he goes, no one lives. Then he shoots himself. Good movie, man. I dug it. And actually I did want to bring up one other movie real quick.
Oh, okay. You can do that. Friend
of the show, Jonathan Blade, made a very contentious statement on the internet. Whoa. Talking to other friends of the show, the movie guys, and I just want to address that real quick because I have watched the movie recently. He said that Triple X Return of Xander Cage was a trash movie.
See, well, read the whole thing though.
No.
I mean, number one, I thought you were going to bring up the fact that he called you out on Domino's power.
Oh yeah, that's right. We have our first. That's right. We do have our first retraction, our first official Book Club for Movies retraction. Dum Smarty thinks he knows everything. Maddie here. I could have sworn she did not have luck as a power. I was wrong. She does have a telekinetic ability to change probability, and it is I think they say it's not something she necessarily knows how to control. It just happens. So I was wrong, but you were right. Hey, you're the greatest person ever.
Well, let's not stop here then. Let me be right twice. The full text of that tweet goes that, number one, he says, I have added a bunch of movies that I've never seen, exemplary to terrible, to my Hulu queue. First up, The Return of Xander Cage. It is trash. It's basically a Roger Moore Bond film by way of a turn-of-the-century rave. Watchable trash.
Yeah. So you didn't let me finish.
Oh,
because I was gonna say he said it was trash, and I 100% agree with him, and it's real good trash.
Oh wait, have you seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you actually went out and watched it after I saw it.
Yeah, no, I watched it when I was it was one of those movies that I watched just in passing. I was doing stuff, and
It is one of those movies.
And I really enjoy the hell out of it. And I gotta say, my favorite addition to that whole series is Ruby Rose. Man, that I like her.
She's good, but the Donnie Yen stuff.
Well, Donnie Yen. It goes without saying, Donnie Yen's the best.
The Donnie Yen stuff in that movie transcends every other part of that movie. Like, it's well choreographed. He nails it. He's fun to watch, but he always is.
He's Donnie Yen. He's awesome.
Watchable trash.
Love Donald Yen.
We all agree. We're all friends.
Donald Kenneth Yen of the Ohio Yens.
So
anyways,
next week, tune in for Return of Xander Cage.
Jonathan Blade, you and I are on the same page with that movie. I think it's trash too, and it's real fun. And I do love the comparison to Roger Moore Bond flicks. In particular, I would probably put this one up there with either You Only Live Twice. No, I'm sorry, not You Only Live Twice. Moonraker or You Only Live Twice.
Oh, wait.
I was right.
So, all right. Stay tuned for none of those movies next week. We're doing Pacific Rim Uprising. You should watch it so we can all watch it together and then talk about it. As Jonathan Blade does. Go check out his site too. He's a fun dude.
My favorite part is that I'm waiting for him to say, you know, You Only Live Twice is a Connery flick, right?
Well, then
because the one I was thinking of was The Spy Who Loved Me.
Right. No, I just thought you were trying to seed every episode now with something completely wrong.
Something wrong?
That people have something,
yeah. No, I'm on fire, and I wish I actually was. Kill me now.
So get the emails coming, get the corrections coming, and we'll talk about Pacific Rim Uprising next week.
BookClubForMovies.com